Welcome to channel. Today, we explore story filled with unexpected twists. Please, subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's begin. I despise the gatherings at the Canyon Ridge Club, which occurred every few weeks. It seems like they had a million justifications to justify some kind of frivolous party, so a lot of affluent people might get together for ego trips. My wife Rachel enjoyed going and appeared to look forward to it. Unfortunately, during the last several years, she has begun to drink excessively, sometimes embarrassing herself or me. Rachel and I had been married for 22 years, and our two children were all at college. I met my wife while doing my MBA, and we appeared to click from the outset. Things began to cool down between us approximately 8 years ago, and I believed it was normal. I would have loved a bit more tenderness and closeness, but I didn't want to push it. I very well accepted that the remainder of my life would be less than romantic. I had a wonderful work and earned decent money. In fact, it was fantastic. Putting 3 kids through college took a significant portion of our budget and savings, but we were still well off. Of course, Rachel did not have to work and preferred not to. Her time was focused on community service and social events. My salary was required to sustain it. She still looked decent for her age. I believe a large part of this was due to frequent visits to the spa and beauty salon. I was quite ordinary, with a little bulge around the center and some gray on the temples. I dressed properly due of my employment and my wife's passion for buying. I was excellent at my work, but not very pleased. I was eager to try something new, something I would like without having to worry about how much it paid. I also wished to relocate someplace else. The home was much too big for the two of us, and I despised the expense and work needed in maintaining it. My wife would never even contemplate considering such stupid concepts. She desired her large home, Canyon Ridge Club, and rich pals. At one such gathering, I went around the club, striking up random discussions about trivial matters. The night was growing old, and I'd been nursing my final drink for about an hour. Rachel, on the other hand, was just gaining momentum. She looked to have been drinking a bit more than normal, and it was obvious. 8 or 10 local socialites sat together and spoke. As I went up, the chat seemed to be about relationships. That was my indication to turn the other way. As I turned to leave the room, I heard my wife speaking in a louder than normal voice. Hell, if it weren't for Ethan Miles, I'd never have had any good relationships in my life. The group became silent. Some of the females had spotted me standing nearby, maybe due to the lack of laughing. Rachel returned and noticed me. The much drinking was undoubtedly impairing her judgment. "Bob, you were not intended to hear that, dear." "I'm sorry," she said, followed by a few drunken chuckles like a small kid. The women sitting nearby had no idea how to respond. A couple of them went away silently, while the remainder sat without speaking. Rachel looked at me with a foolish grin on her face, as if she had just done something wicked. I set my drink on a neighboring table and carefully exited the area and club. I did not go home. I proceeded to the airport, and within 30 minutes, I was on a commuter aircraft to Reno. I preferred Reno over Phoenix. My connection with Rachel has now become more obvious. I now understood things that had previously escaped me. A lengthy weekend at Salt Lake might help to clear a few additional points. I switched off my mobile phone. I had no problem booking a stay at one of the casinos. I created a $20,000 account, and the comp room soon followed. An intriguing fact regarding casino accounts is that since they are not banks, they are not subject to federal regulations and are not obliged to file reports with the government. If you win huge money playing slots or Keno, you must report it, but everything you put in your account is not traceable. I was not very interested in gambling of any kind, but I did appreciate their banking structure. By the time I awoke, it was 2 p.m. On Sunday, I was contemplating my predicament over a burger and fries. I enjoyed Salt Lake. The high altitude provided a suitable environment, and there were several other decent services nearby because to the gambling. I had to go down to the river to pay my respects to all of the shattered marriages. I wasn't planning a Salt Lake divorce, but I may want to add my ring to the riverbed later. On my way back to the hotel/casino, I passed a realtor's office with a large number of images displayed in the front window. A condo in Salt Lake City suddenly became a viable option. After an hour in the office and 2 hours of driving about, I discovered a modest furnished flat that I really loved. The problem was that I couldn't purchase it while married. Fortunately, I was able to arrange a covert lease-to-purchase deal with a large deposit. The large deposit was my suggestion, and the seller appreciated it. One of the smartest choices I made early in my marriage was to handle and control the family money on my own. Rachel lacked mathematical and financial skills. She was willing to let me pay the bills as long as she got to spend the money. That evening, I treated myself to a lovely sushi dinner before retiring to bed. I transferred another $10,000 from my Visa card to the casino money. I hate paying cash advance fees, but I believed it was worth it in this circumstance. I woke up early the next day and had breakfast at the casino restaurant. Eggs, bacon, hash browns, and toast struck the spot. I was attempting to pass the time with my second cup of coffee when I saw my waitress had a large shiner. She was attempting to conceal it by brushing her hair forward, but it was not effective. She was an attractive lady in her early 40s. I watched her go from table to table, trying her best to make everyone pleased. I got the impression that this was something new for her since she was trying too hard. An experienced waitress would have been more poised and assured. I appreciated her determination to complete the task successfully. Your name tag reads Jenna. Is that your actual name? No, my name is Kara, but Jenna was the closest tag they had. Well, Kara, I will have one more cup of coffee, and I promise to leave a big tip if you tell me about the black eye. Why don't I pour you a refill, and you can leave a smaller tip, while I ignore your question? Fair enough. It was impolite of me to inquire. I already had the condo key, so I went to grab a few supplies to set up housekeeping. The first destination was down the street at the Desert Wheels used automobile dealership. I got a Focus sedan with more mileage than I care to disclose. It wouldn't be ideal for a lengthy vacation, but it's okay for running about. I suppose I could have rented, but I planned on returning on a regular basis for a while. For a few $100s, I was able to purchase everything I needed to live comfortably, including a few changes of clothing. I spent the remainder of the day establishing accounts at different casinos. I wrote checks made out to the location I was at. The money was deposited into my account and then gone. No audit trail. By the end of the day, I had deposited $60,000 over 4 casinos. I acquired a tiny spiral notebook that I could keep in my pocket to record the sums, dates, and casino names. This was a historical record of how much money I lost while gambling throughout the long weekend. Of course, I hadn't bet a penny, but who would challenge me? Everyone knew I was a bad poker player, so any losses I suffered in roulette, craps, or blackjack would be understandable. I had 6 months to come up with a down payment for the unit. This should be no issue. I completely forgot about lunch, so by the time dinner came around, I was starving. The simplest location to go was where I ate breakfast. As luck would have it, Kara was my waitress. Why are you still here? Seems like a long day. I have to work extra shifts to get by. I didn't expect rent to be so pricey here. Would you want a drink? It was best not to be too inquisitive. I ordered my dinner and attempted to be a nice kid for the remainder of the time. After I finished, she brought my check and paused for a bit. I apologize for being short with you this morning. I'm having difficulty adjusting to my new surroundings and am a bit self-conscious about my appearance. My spouse gave me a parting present when I informed him I was coming here to obtain a divorce. It isn't the first, but I'm hoping it's the last. Thank you for the wonderful tip during breakfast. It helps. She went away with a sorrowful grin. I thought about her for the rest of the night. At night, I realized that there wasn't much more I could do right now. I needed to go home to do a few things before I could set up anything else here. I had no issue booking a ticket for the return journey, but I was concerned what I would do once I arrived. Kara was working the next day, and I was able to reserve one of her tables. I stopped her when she handed over the check after the lunch. I have a tiny issue and was hoping you could assist me. I need to depart today and won't be returning for a week or so. I need someone to house sit for me. It's a 2-bedroom apartment, so you won't have to worry about living conflicts. Could you assist me out? It will last at least a few months. Are you serious? There are no strings attached. I loathe leaving the place alone. 90% of the time, it will just be you, and when I am there, I will remain out of your way. Promise. I didn't mind if someone broke in and cleared the apartment out. There wasn't much to lose. I couldn't tell Kara that. Okay. Is it within walking distance to the diner? It's quite close, but I'm also leaving you my automobile. Make sure it always has gas for when I return. They'll phone you ahead of time. There is a machine on the phone. Kara just stood and stared at me. I believe she was scared it was a setup. I didn't have time to persuade her differently. Here are the apartment and vehicle keys. The automobile is parked at the condominium. It's a dark blue Chevrolet Malibu. Here is the condominium's address. Don't go if you're not comfortable with it. They'll pick up the keys when I return next Thursday. I scrawled the address on a napkin and gave it to her. She grabbed the napkin and keys and just stared at me. Don't worry, Kara. If you do, that's okay. If you decide not to, that's great. An hour later, I was on my way home. I'd rather have remained in Salt Lake. I drove by the residence after picking up my automobile from the long-term parking lot. Rachel's vehicle was gone, so I went to acquire some supplies for the remainder of the week. I packed the vehicle with undergarments, clothing, shoes, and my laptop. It took less than 10 minutes. I also received my passport and birth certificate. The firm has many kitchenette-style units on consignment. My position allowed me to utilize one of them any way I saw appropriate. I've reserved it for the next 3 weeks. I charged the laptop battery and contacted my oldest son, Nathan. I informed him that his mother and I were experiencing domestic troubles and that I would be unavailable for a time. I urged him to explain it to his sisters and reassure them not to worry. All 3 of them attended the University of Houston. I received a group discount, but still had to pay out-of-state tuition. At least I was able to afford it. I hung up, charged my phone, and took a shower. The only thing I had to eat on the aircraft was a bag of peanuts. I was looking forward to a lovely dinner. Tuesday was a hectic day. Before doing anything else, I went to the bank and took out a large second mortgage on the home. I now owed more money than the home was worth. By the end of the month, that would have changed. I approached the University of Houston directly via the bank, and we came to a deal on prepaid tuition for the kids. The bank sent $240,000 immediately to the school. That left me with a cashier's check for somewhat more than $200,000 to go to Salt Lake. I cashed 2 CDs, paid the penalty, and closed my money market account. I decided to leave my credit cards alone till the end of the month. I was already late for work at that point. Emily, my devoted secretary, was ready with black coffee and a funny smile. Good morning, Mr. Terrell. Will you tell me what occurred at the Canyon Ridge Club on Thursday? Or will I have to trust the rumors? Emily, the rumors are real. Is there anything more you need to know? Without blinking, she said, what do you want me to do to help? Tell me all you can about Ethan Miles. I suppose he used to work here, but I'm not certain. I have arranged for some of the staff to do all of my planned work, and I have not given them any reason why any visits or meetings I have booked should be rescheduled. Also, are there any questions thus far? Emily gave me a huge grin and a thumbs up as she exited the office. I had assumed it would take many weeks to organize my affairs, but now I realized that it might all be completed in a week. I phoned my lawyer and set up an instant appointment. On the way out, I told Emily that I would not accept or answer to any phone calls from my wife. Security was not to let her inside the building. Derek Lawson was a buddy of mine from college. We liked one another, but Jerry had never liked Rachel. I assumed he would be the ideal person to manage my divorce. I was at the Canyon Ridge Club on Thursday, Bobby, so I believe I understand why you were here. You're correct. I am not being a smartass, but it is about time. I believed as long as I wasn't publicly humiliated, I could take it. That ended on Thursday. I need access to all of your accounts plus a couple of powers of attorney. I will have my girl prepare everything and then contact you. Is there anything unique I should be aware of? Well, Jerry, I'm afraid the shock of what occurred Thursday has sparked something in me. I've discovered that I've grown hooked to gambling. I spent a long weekend in Reno and lost hundreds of dollars. I'm coming back next long weekend, and I'm concerned things will be worse. Wow, excellent friend, that is bad. I'm assuming you kept some form of record or proof of all of these losses. Jerry had a broad grin on his face. I have and will. I suppose it would be a good idea to provide you copies of everything. Most definitely. You know, Bobby, I don't believe we should discuss this anymore, do you? You're correct. Do you need anything else? I'm okay, Bobby. Get out of here and take care of business. Take this financial worksheet with you, complete it, and return it when you come in to sign the documents tomorrow. I have your back, buddy. It was at this time that I realized I had skipped lunch. Emily had a wonderful little leaflet ready for me with information about Ethan Miles. She suggested that I talk with Will McJim in the personnel department before doing anything else. Linda has been with the organization for a very long time. She ran a tight ship and performed an excellent job. She always wore a work suit and kept her hair in a tight bun. Her confidence made her seem scary to everyone who encountered her. If Emily wanted me to see her, it had to be significant. Good afternoon, Mr. Terrell. Have a seat. She was attempting to put me at ease, but it was not working. It was like being in a room with a nun. I was a mature guy in a powerful position, and I was in awe of this lady. She closed her office door. Emily offered me an overview of what was going on. I do not participate to workplace gossip, but I do deal with facts. Ethan Miles came to me with confidence 4 years ago. I promised not to tell anybody what we talked at the time, but it looks I cannot fulfill that promise. If you are offended by anything I say, just stand up and leave, and our debate will stop. If you don't like what you hear, don't be furious with me. I'm only telling you the facts. Do you understand, Mr. Terrell? Yes, I do understand. I believe I am mature enough to take anything you say without having a temper tantrum. She expressed a small scowl at my feeble effort to be witty. About 3.5 years ago, your wife Rachel encountered Ethan Miles at a business event. That night, Chris and Rachel were having sex in one of the private offices. Chris was getting married the following month. Rachel threatened to inform his fiancée if he continued to see her for sex. He hoped that after he married, she would leave him alone, but she did not. She had been pressuring him to have sex with her for many months, threatening him with exposure. In desperation, he approached me for assistance. Of course, he needed to give me the whole tale. Naturally, I couldn't in good conscience tell you or anybody else. The greatest answer I had was to move Chris to another office. Rachel abandoned him upon his transfer to Dallas. Chris never informed his wife about the situation. Any questions? It looks like Ethan Miles was as big a victim in this fiasco as I was. I was considering some kind of retaliation, but it seems stupid now. Do you have any suggestions, Linda? Now that you understand, you have the power. I believe you should just let it die. Ethan Miles is a valuable employee and value to the firm. Don't upset him over anything your wife did. I appreciate your time. I guess you're correct. Being compelled to have sex with my wife is a sufficient punishment. Linda smiled as we got up. By the way, it's not Mississippi. I've been married for 29 years. It was difficult to image Linda in bed with a guy. However, maybe when she let her hair down, she transformed into some kind of sex goddess. I suddenly found myself thinking about a dominatrix and wanted to shift the conversation. Linda's love life was not the most pressing issue for me. Emily had postponed all of my work, so I had a clean slate. My wife phoned 3 times and refused to accept I was in Cleveland, as Emily said. Emily scheduled an appointment for me with the business president the next day and one with the legal department for that afternoon. I invited Emily to join me for dinner. She giggled and said that her husband would not approve. She advised that I ask Linda and laughed again. It took longer than I thought in the legal department, and I ended up retaining a couple of the employees on overtime. I apologized, but everyone seemed to understand. It turned out to be more complex than I expected. Redeeming my retirement plan for a monetary payout proved tough. Closing the 401k and pooled savings accounts went easily, although it took some time. Cashing in my sick leave, vacation time, and work insurance was simpler than most of the other options. By then, it was clear that I was quitting the firm. I was praying it wouldn't get back to my wife before I finished. I ended up having dinner alone. For some strange reason, I kept thinking about Kara throughout the lunch. I wondered whether she had moved into the condominium. Was she still doing double shifts? I was eager to return to Salt Lake and visit her, despite the fact that I knew so little about her. It felt childish, and I tried to ignore it. It was silly to spend time fantasizing about things that would never happen. The next day, I paid in 2 whole life insurance policies and canceled 2 term plans. I was astounded at how much cash worth the whole life insurance had risen to. I could pick up the checks the next afternoon. My vehicle was covered by business insurance, but I terminated Rachel's Lexus insurance. The lease was in her name, but the insurance was mine. Before heading into work, I stopped by Jerry's office to pass off the financial form and sign a slew of paperwork his secretary had prepared. Emily had coffee ready when I returned to the workplace. It's not my intention to rub salt into your wounds, boss, but you need to talk to Leon Parker down in settlements before you see Franklin Hayes. Franklin Hayes served as president of the corporation. I was certain that he was well aware of the reason for my visit. The settlements section was located in the basement, to be accurate. I'm not sure why everyone else got windows and sunshine, while they got the dungeon. Calvin, Emily said you wanted to talk to me. Leon Parker was a quiet man who always got his job done. He was a no-nonsense sort of guy, boring yet effective. He guided me to a secret spot. I heard things were escalating at your workplace. I'm not into gossip or hearsay, but I thought you should know something. We had a man called Martin Keene in our office around 5 years ago. He was a decent guy, married with 2 children. He hooked up with your wife after an office party. She continued contacting him both at home and at the workplace. He realized he had made a mistake and tried to terminate it, but she wouldn't allow him. She threatened to notify his wife if he attempted to dump her. The idiot called her out. Ray's wife booted him out 2 days later. He began drinking and eventually lost his job. I'm not sure where he is now. Anyway, Ray's wife threatened to inform you about your wife's infidelity. As I understand it, your wife paid her $10,000 to quiet up. I have no proof of that last part. Thank you, Cal. I wonder if anyone else has any good news for me. I wasn't intending to upset you, Mr. Terrell, but Emily suggested I inform you. You did the correct thing. I appreciate it. They'll take care of this for you, and you take care of yourself. I rode the elevator directly to the 9th floor. I arrived a bit early for my appointment with Mr. Ryder, but he took me straight in. It was concise and precise. The legal, HR, and payroll departments would handle everything for me. When the smoke cleared, I was to phone him directly from wherever I was. He handed me a card with his private mobile number on the reverse. There were no pledges, regrets, or second chances. Things were closed up on one hand, yet left open on the other. I gave him a modest nod before leaving. I had not spoken a thing. Emily was all happy when I returned to the office. She gave me the normal cup of coffee. I grinned back and added, "Get me a flight to Reno for Thursday morning with a 2-hour layover in Dallas." She motioned with her head for me to look out the window. Rachel is in the parking lot, arguing with a security guard. She's been down there for nearly 20 minutes. They won't allow her in, and she refuses to leave. What do you want to accomplish, boss? It appears that the guards have everything under control. My main challenge is finding someone to eat dinner with. I hate eating alone. I contacted Jerry to ask how things were going. He claimed he couldn't do anything until I resolved the financial issues. I had to show him I didn't have any money right now. I was loaded with the checks I had, those on the way, and the cash in the bank. I was a rich guy. I pledged to travel to Salt Lake early and not return until I was completely broke. Every now and again, someone would poke their head in the door and inform me that my wife wanted me to contact her. She was having all of her pals contact their spouses at work to locate me. I stayed in the office for a few more hours, tidying things up to make my replacement's job simpler. Rachel was sitting on the hood of my vehicle, waiting for me to get out. Emily smiled as she gave me the keys to her Honda Civic. She said it was an excellent reason to have her husband pick her up and take her out to supper. By the way, you won't do something dumb in Dallas, right? No, just tying up loose ends. No vengeance, I promise. I traveled to Oak Ridge and had dinner at the Longhorn. I was back to my flat before midnight. The next afternoon passed quickly. I signed more paperwork for Jerry, stopped all bank accounts, and canceled all credit cards. I even made arrangements to switch off all of the house's utilities. The next week, I picked up checks from the bank, the insurance company, and my workplace. I had no clue I was worth this much money. I acquired a new mobile phone and canceled the ones Rachel and I were already using. I sold my Canyon Ridge Club membership to a longtime buddy for $23,000. My successor was already in place when I arrived at work for the last time. He appeared like a decent person. He arrived from Boston with a 24-hour notice. He knew that was a wise decision for him. Emily knew more about operating the office than I did, so there was no need for me to instruct him. There were a few items in the home that I wished I had, but they were not essential enough for me to return for. Emily informed me to retain her vehicle and that her husband would pick it up at the airport. I had to acquire a couple of inexpensive suitcases to store my belongings at the flat. Anything I forgot, I could get in Salt Lake. I suddenly understood I'd done all I could. All of my assets were now in cash. There were no investments, accounts, or anything else of worth outside the home that I was gifting to my wife. SkyWest was quite accommodating. They had several tickets available and were more than happy to relocate my flight ahead. I contacted Jerry at home. "Hey, friend, I just wanted to let you know that I'm cutting out tonight. I'm assuming you have everything you need." "I'm okay, Bobby. I can serve the papers tomorrow, but I need the financial information as soon as feasible. You may as well give them to her. They'll start delivering you evidence of financial irresponsibility as soon as possible. Take care, Bobby. I don't want any of us to go into trouble. I'm sure Rachel will get a big shot to help her, most likely from Philadelphia. Of course, he will have a backup plan and may leave her as soon as things begin to go wrong. It's all up to you, Jerry. Do your best for me, but don't overestimate the cost. I'm going to be a very impoverished guy shortly. Do not forget that. Also, check if you can find a person called Miles Connors. He probably could use a little assistance. Depending on the circumstances, I may be the one to do it. I got it, Bobby." Have a pleasant flight, and stay in contact. I contacted the condo and left a message on the machine indicating that I would be coming later that night. I assured her ID call, and I didn't want her to be scared if she heard someone at the door. At this time, I had no idea whether she would be there. I could hope. It seemed strange that I didn't even know this lady, but I hoped to establish some type of connection with her. At this point, even having her as a friend would enough. Her circumstances made her vulnerable, and I didn't want to seem exploitative. I arrived in Dallas early enough to have a pleasant breakfast. I was waiting in Ethan Miles' office when he entered. I could tell he was unhappy to see me. I do want to say it's great to see you, Bobby, but I wouldn't be speaking the truth. I think we both know that. Relax, Chris. I hope you don't mind me sounding familiar. I'm not here to put you down. I just wanted to let you know that I understand your predicament from a while ago and that there are no hard feelings. You could have done that on the phone. I know, but it was on my way, and I felt it was worth my time to clear the air. I do not comprehend. Why do you want to do this? I am the one that messed up. I should apologize to you for what happened. You did nothing wrong, Chris. I was young and naive, and I made a bad decision. I'm still too embarrassed to inform my wife. You were somewhat to fault for what occurred, Chris, but I believe my wife created the most of the trouble. What she did caused troubles for you, and now for me. I'm not saying you were absolutely innocent, but it wasn't all your fault. I don't want you to bear any more guilt than necessary since my beautiful wife was. That's quite generous of you to say. I don't know what to say or do in response. I reached over and gave him one of Jerry's cards. Call my lawyer later today. It's possible that he may ask you to do anything for me. It will be quite discreet. He could claim he doesn't need anything right now. At best, I anticipate he will want a notarized declaration confirming the affair. I swear it will not come back to your wife. We shook hands. It felt strange since this was one of the guys who had injured me, but I figured it was acceptable. Ethan Miles was a good guy who did not deserve to have his life jeopardized for a single indiscretion, even if it had occurred multiple times. An hour later, I was again on my way to Salt Lake. I was trying to find out what I had done wrong. I worked hard to provide my wife and children all they could desire or need. I believe I performed quite well. It seems that while I was ensuring that everyone was taken care of, I neglected my wife. When presented with a dilemma like this, we all strive to figure out why it occurred. In my situation, I generally realize that I was to fault. I can accept that, but when the cycle completes, I am forced to face Rachel's efforts to make a fool of me. That cannot be allowed or tolerated. If she had been more subtle, I would have probably let it all go and blamed myself forever. She wasn't discreet, and I won't blame myself. The evening concluded on a high note as I arrived at Reno International. I was pleasantly delighted to find Kara waiting at the luggage pickup. She wore trousers and a light blue Oxford shirt. It was the first time I saw her wearing anything other than a uniform. It wasn't my intention to have her pick me up when I phoned. I just wanted her to know I was coming. Good evening, Kara. I was not expecting you. I figured since I had your car, it was the least I could do. You aren't working? No. I was able to cut back because of your generous offer. Oh, I wasn't very generous. I was simply trying to figure out how I could be alone with you. And what will you do to me when you have me alone? I do not know yet. I haven't planned that far ahead. Any suggestions? As I took my luggage off the turntable, I saw Kara blushing slightly. I decided it was time to back down before I frightened her away. When she posed the question, I got the impression she was playing a little game with me, which was a positive indication. We returned 30 minutes later to a beautifully decorated flat. It was only a few little details that added to the overall vibe without costing much. I ordered 2 prime ribs to thank her for sprucing up the flat and taking me up from the airport. I believe Kara appreciated the wine more than the steak. How's the divorce going? Not worth a damn. I still have 3 weeks to go till I can apply. Everyone told it takes 7 weeks to gain residence. I assumed this would be easy. I think I would have been better off doing this at home. Why haven't you? Kara sat for a few moments, fiddling with her meal before looking up. Leaving Victor was more vital than getting divorced. The divorce is only a piece of paper that will not protect me from any more beatings. I believe I used the divorce argument to justify coming out here. It did not matter where I went. The main point was that I was finally free. Kara's words made sense to me. I suppose being divorced from Rachel felt significant at first, but now I'm not sure. All I wanted to do was prevent her from benefiting from the marriage. It made no difference unless I intended to marry again. I had no such impulses. The remainder of the evening was spent discussing more ordinary topics like hobbies, movies, and literature. Kara did not have any children. I didn't inquire why. We slept in separate bedrooms that night. Kara had gone for work before I even woke up. There was fresh coffee, which was all I needed. I was still full from yesterday night's meal. After a brief wash, I got down to work. Jerry, how's my favorite lawyer? There was a sigh on the other end of the line. It's not worth a damn, Bobby. I have awful news for you. Promise not to shoot the messenger. Oh crap. I've just been gone one day. What the heck happened? Rachel has stirred the kettle. She found out about the bank accounts and other details. After contacting the cops, she received a restraining order against everything in the world. Despite the fact that your accounts are empty, they have all been frozen. You cannot approach her or the home. You cannot take anything from the home. You are unable to contact your children, even if they are legally adults. The majority of it is garbage, but it will take a long time and a lot of money to clean it up. She called the Securities and Exchange Commission about your 401k and retirement savings. Somehow or another, she has the IRS looking at everything. Jerry, I'm not sure how to say this, but I don't want any part of it. I'm out. Do you understand? I felt somewhat overwhelmed. So you won't be arranging the divorce for me? You got this, buddy. For your information, she also hired a private investigator to locate you. I'm wondering how she'll pay for all of this. I'm not sure, and I don't care. Remember, if the police or the feds inquire where you are, they'll have to tell them. I'm not going to put my job at jeopardy for you, even if we're friends. I understand, Jerry. Cover your ass. I'm going to make some changes on my end. I will not call you again for a time. Thank you for understanding, pal. I hoped you'd see things my way. That put a cramp in things. Even the best laid plans may go horribly wrong in an instant. I needed to move to Plan B, but I didn't have one. My bright notion of pretending to lose all of my money in the casinos was turned down. I chose not to call anybody else. Kara left the vehicle for me, which I liked. I'm not sure how she got to work. I was stranded with a little duffel bag full of cash and checks. I had to visit 6 separate casinos to pay my checks and get chips or credit. I was terrified to go to the banks in case there was a hold or trace placed on anything. The casinos were more than willing to assist. By the end of the morning, I had everything on deposit at many locations, as well as a bag full of cash and chips. Following a brief lunch, I began the withdrawals. In 2 hours, all of the chips had been converted to cash and taken from the casino accounts. I now had a large bag full of money. So far, there have been no difficulties or suspicions. It took me less than an hour to go to Flagstaff. I leased a huge safety deposit box at an inconspicuous local bank and stored everything save $5,000, which I retained for strolling about. I was glad now that everything was secure. I was looking forward to another lengthy dinner with Kara to celebrate. As soon as I walked inside the apartment, I felt there was something wrong. Kara was doing her best to fix things that should not have been messed up in the first place. She glanced up at me and covered part of her face. I apologize, Bobby. It is my fault. I'm not sure how he discovered me, and I didn't realize he was following me until I entered the flat. I should have been more cautious. I'm really sorry. I carefully dropped her hand from her face. Kara had a fresh shiner and a big lip to match it. A huge purple bruise covered the right half of her face. Was that Victor? She nodded her head in agreement. He had 2 brothers with him. They're out searching for you right now. Victor instructed me not to leave the condominium. Where are they looking? I provided them the names of 3 casinos. The fools have no idea what you look like. I don't think they are thinking clearly. The decision seemed obvious. We couldn't remain or contact the police. We abandoned everything and drove west, spending the night at a little off-road hotel in Grass Valley. It just had 1 bed, but I was the gentleman. I returned some food to the room and grabbed some cosmetics for Kara. She attempted to hide the bruises, but it still looked like she had gone through hell. She apologized to me again during the night. I was glad when she eventually fell asleep. The following day, we headed to Sacramento to get some clothes and personal goods. I had no clue when we'd be able to return to the apartment. I booked the Grass Valley Hotel for 2 extra nights. Kara and I spent the next few days getting to know one another. There was no sex, no insinuation. I felt more at ease with her after 3 days than I did with Rachel after 22 years. When I wasn't talking to Kara, I was thinking about everything else that was going on. I was frightened to return Kara to the apartment in case Victor found her. I was terrified to return to the apartment in case someone was hunting for me, but I unintentionally left my laptop, passport, and other sensitive documents there. I had the ridiculous concept that they were vital to me and that I needed to obtain them. Very silly. I only known Kara for a few days, but I knew I needed to trust her. We were both in the same situation as far as wives were concerned. Have you ever been to Mexico? No. Are we going to Mexico, Bobby? I do not know. Look, if things don't go well, I want you to do something for me. I do not want you to get into trouble, and I want to keep you away from Victor. Bobby, you do not owe me anything. You've already done more than enough. I will be fine. I'm not sure how things will go for me. I have a lot of money stowed away. It isn't filthy money, but I'm keeping it hidden from my wife. If anything happens to me, you will have to get the money for me. Who is after you? You haven't said anything about it. Did you do anything illegal? Look, multiple government agencies are hunting for me, as well as a private investigator. I'm sure the local police will be called in to assist if required. All I'm attempting to do is conceal some money from my wife. She's attempting to make it seem as if I'm doing something criminal. What should I do with this money? I was thinking about it. Travel to Puerto Vallarta and wait for me. Use whatever money you have to scrape by until I get there. How are you going to find me? I go to the Central Mercado for coffee every morning. I will locate you. It's rather huge, but it'll locate you. When should I do this? When you figure out I'm in trouble. Why don't I do it right now? Have patience. I will take you with me. I'd rather take you with me than travel alone. I would feel better if we went together. Why can't we both leave now? The talk was becoming repetitious, so I ignored her. I didn't want to be disrespectful. I was simply eager to go on. 2 hours later, we were over the mountain and in Flagstaff. Kara's name was added to the access list for the safety deposit box, and she received her own key. When we returned to the apartment, I parked half a street away. The complex had a lower-level parking lot underneath the condos. It was open to the outside, but covered. I instructed Kara to remain in the vehicle until I was certain there would be no trouble. What kind of problem? I have no idea. Anything is possible given the current state of affairs. And it did. I was strolling around the parking lot, checking for anything odd, when this occurred. Bobby Terrell, turn around. He was a little guy, wiry. The long leather cloak he wore made him seem strange rather than menacing. He was not intimidating enough to pull it off. His fist did, however, contain a big black automatic. Do I know you? He smiled broadly, as if glad to identify himself. My name is Lo. Your wife sent me. Okay. What can I do for you? I need your wedding ring and your wallet. I get the wedding ring, but why the wallet? I have to make this look like a robbery. Make it appear like a robbery? Your wife hired me to kill you, Mr. Terrell. I hope she paid you beforehand since she does not have any money. What do you mean? That marked the end of the discussion. 3 enormous Italians appeared from across the parking lot, wearing long leather jackets and looking unpleasant. Bobby Terrell, we want to speak with you. Victor was a noisy person. The entrance took Lo by surprise. He turned to face the 3 of them, and one of them saw the rifle in his hand. As I dived over the concrete barrier that led to the outside of the parking lot, all 3 of them reached inside their jackets. Lo lost interest in me for a time as I slid around the building's side to the automobile. I could hear gunfire reverberating off the garage walls. I glanced up just in time to see Kara driving down the street and 2 men in suits exiting a black SUV across the street. It was clear that the suit men were feds, and I figured they were waiting for me. The battle kept them busy long enough for me to leave the area. Kara was gone. The automobile was gone. There was no way I was returning to that apartment. I had no idea who shot whom in the parking garage, and I didn't want to know. All I knew for certain was that 3 distinct factions were pursuing me for various reasons at the same time. I received the message. I had a few choices at this point. One was to take a bus to Flagstaff and get my money. I decided against this notion since I was extremely heated. Yeah, hot is a good term. I was only attempting to get away from an unfaithful wife. What the heck happened? Since I intended to let the money cool for a bit, I needed to locate a location to hide. I still had more than $4,000 in my pocket. That would satisfy me for a while. Why did my wife attempt to murder me? I imagine she didn't understand there was no more insurance money. I assumed she was smarter than that. I made a major error. I paid $1,000 to take the bus to Los Angeles. Doesn't go very far in the city by the bay. The first $1,000 earned me an SSN and an ID, which allowed me to find a job. I got a room with a bathroom down the hall and a job waiting tables at a low-key restaurant. After approximately a month, I was making enough money to sustain myself and developing into a competent waiter. Some customers had actually requested my tables. I had not been paying my mobile phone payments. Therefore, the service was stopped. I hadn't used it since leaving Salt Lake. I merely spent a few dollars for a new prepaid subscription and roughly 50 minutes of airtime. I wanted to call Kara, but I wasn't sure where she was or how to contact her. I chose to call Jerry. Hey, buddy. This is Bobby. I just wanted to get an update from you. It's good to hear from you, Bobby. Things are still messed up, but not in the way you might expect. Where in the heck are you? It's not your damn business where I am. The last time I spoke with you, I was overwhelmed by rude individuals all demanding stuff. Am I still a wanted man? Well, much of that trash disappeared, particularly when Rachel was imprisoned. According to my understanding, the IRS is still asking for a payment on 401k assets. Aside from that, much of it is excellent. What do you mean Rachel was arrested? I expected you to be aware of this. Have you ever heard of someone named Dante Cruz? Yes, I met him briefly around 3 months ago. He was attempting to bump me off when we were stopped by some other men who were following me. While they argued over who would get a piece of me, I snuck out the back door. How does he fit in? Rachel hired Lo to assassinate you. Lo was shot up fairly severely out in Salt Lake and sung like a bird to the cops. He said Rachel was planning to cheat him on a $10,000 deal, so he turned her in. Believe it or not, the officers bought it and charged her. She can't afford bail, so she's spending her trial day in the clank. Jerry, I would love to assist her if it weren't for the fact that she attempted to murder me. I believe her parents should be able to aid her pay bail, but I certainly will not. Let me show you what I can do, Bobby. Nobody seems to be very interested in you at this moment. Do you want me to restart the divorce? I believe we have really solid grounds this time. Might as well. A divorce would be good, but I don't care either way now. I suppose it would make things cleaner. I preserved all of the other documentation. I think I can still use the majority of it. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. When Rachel got into trouble, all of your kids returned home. They were worried at first, but lost interest quickly as the facts were revealed. They want you to call and let them know you're fine. I'll get in touch with them as soon as I can. How did your money laundering strategy work? Not worth a damn. I lost control and lost communication. I will attempt to check on it next week. Sometimes the best damn plans in the world are just not good enough. Okay, keep in touch, buddy. One more thing, Jerry. Did Rachel ever explain why she wanted me dead? Not that I know of. I believed it was for the insurance that she was unaware you had canceled. I checked in with the kids, and everything seemed okay. They felt better when they learned that the 2 tuition installments had been prepaid. They wanted to know what had transpired between Rachel and me, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them. Certain things would have to wait. I rented a vehicle and traveled to Flagstaff. The safe deposit box was empty. She could at least have left a note. I couldn't protest since I'd given her the key and access to the box. Did she travel to Puerto Vallarta? Or did she locate another location where I couldn't find her? There was only one way of finding out. There were a few tiny travel companies in my Los Angeles area. The majority of them focused on group excursions for suitable individuals, which I didn't exactly fit into. I finally discovered a trip to my favorite Mexican city with a last-minute cancellation that I could join. It was the first time in my life that I had to scrounge together enough money to buy anything. The vacation wasn't very costly, I just didn't have much money. I felt at ease since some of the men on the trip worked at the restaurant with me. Most of them had signed up for the side excursions, but I had other intentions. The first 2 days proved to be a huge letdown. The Labrador market was larger than I had expected. I now see that it was a horrible decision on my behalf. I hated to think Kara had opted to take my money and travel somewhere more exotic. Perhaps she was in Thailand or Tijuana. Lord knows she had enough money in that safety deposit box to live any place she chose. I wasn't sure if I should sit and wait for her to pass by or move around and seek for her. I ended up doing both. By the 3rd day, it was becoming boring. It is about time, Bobby. Where the heck have you been? I turned to see Kara standing with her hands on her hips. She wore a wide-brimmed straw hat with a crimson band around it. Say anything, damn it. I've been going insane here, not knowing whether you were still alive or not. I did not say anything. I approached and kissed her for the first time. I'm not sure why I hadn't done it sooner, but I'm pleased I did now. That's a quite lame excuse. Maybe you should try again. The second kiss was followed by a huge embrace as I swung her around off the ground. Kara, I missed you so much. You still need to tell me where you were for the last month, but I can't wait till then. Let's go home and have some lunch. We went around the market together, and for the first time in a long time, I felt joyful and fulfilled. Don't be mad at me, Bobby, but I spent some of your money. I placed the most of money in the bank, but I needed a place to live, so I purchased us a home. I was hoping you wouldn't object since you have a significant amount of money in that bank. It was a gorgeous mansion in a beautiful city, and I was with a lovely lady. I like it when a plan came together. Rachel's parents were able to acquire the bail money and pay for her attorneys. Jerry had little issue obtaining her signature on the divorce papers. She was sentenced to 5 to 8 years in prison for attempting to murder me. I never found out why Ethan Miles gave Jerry a deposition, and he never had to use it. Jerry was able to locate Miles Connor. He was sober, but not doing well. When Jerry inquired what he could do to assist, John said that he would want to have a hot dog push cart. I got to feel better for $2,400. I resolved my dispute with the IRS for $4,000. Lo went to prison in Nevada with Kara's husband and brothers. We do not know how long they will be there. I was now able to return home. My previous work, with a promotion, was waiting for me. The police were no longer searching for me. We aim to marry as soon as Kara's Mexican divorce is finalized. During spring break, the children will go down to attend the wedding. The home in Puerto Vallarta is lovely, but we doubt we will live there permanently. Kara prefers to maintain it as a holiday house. Emily is eager for me to return to work, particularly in the new role. It's a promotion for both of us. Kara is eager to travel anywhere as long as we are together. She wants me to take her to meet Rachel. This should be intriguing. My plans did not come out as I had hoped, but who am I to complain? And so concludes Bobby's narrative. Do you believe he made the correct decision? Please let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell for more. Thank you for watching.